And now a message from our friends at Fetching Food.
The 1970s and 80s had Elbow, Gravy Train, Purina, Meow Mix, and Bell Bottoms. You've changed your clothes, now change how you feed your pet. Like Bell Bottoms, kick the kibble and join us in the 21st century with the healthiest diet for dogs and cats. Feed naturally, feed raw, feed Fetching Foods.
I'm from Missouri. That's all I know.
Hello, pups and kittens, and welcome to another fun-filled and informative episode of the Groomer Next Door podcast. I'm your host, Chris Green, and joining us this week are my two favorite ladies in the cat world, and really in pet industry. We have the two crazy cat ladies joining us. But before then, I actually wanted to sit down with Claire, who is a massive fan of the crazy cat ladies. And of course, she brought in Oliver. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, guys.
Well, tell us, because I was talking to Jae and Adrienne about how much you're a fan of theirs, and I want you, in your own words, to tell them.
Because I love what you guys do, I love cats so much, and I love dogs, and all the stuff that you do is just amazing.
What's funny is that Oliver is in her arms right now, and he's kind of reaching for the microphone going, ooh, shiny red ball. So tell us, one of the things that I wanted you to be able to say in your own words is, the one thing that Claire will always talk about is, you have the two crazy cat ladies on? And that was funny. So tell me, what brought that up?
What brought that up is, since I love playing with cats and we have our own dog, that's my dog, Sumo. I love playing with him, all that stuff. And I just think of two crazy cat ladies. Me working with cats, they work with cats, all that stuff.
What's just so funny is just to see Oliver. I mean, Oliver is such a big cat as it is. But, I mean, he is right in her arms as we're recording this. I mean, and I don't even know if you could hear the purr, but you could hear going on. It was so funny. He is just adorable. Well, by that sound, Jae and Adrienne are about to enter the podcast studio. But before then, did you want to tell Jae and Adrienne anything before they come on?
Yes, I'm happy that you're talking about cats and dogs, because our two dogs are on raw feeding, and it's just amazing that you guys are talking about animals, and that's what I just love about them.
You know what I love about a 9-year-old is that they don't BS. They tell it to what it is. Well, welcome Jae and Adrienne, the two crazy cat ladies, to the podcast.
Oh, hello. Hold on a sec. Dad, we have a guest on the podcast.
All right, this week on my very first day at work, and that's just kind of an inside joke to all this, we are rejoined this week by my two favorite crazy cat ladies. We have Jae and Adrienne. It's been a year. Yes, shocking. It has been a year since we've had you on the podcast, and yet I talk to you guys all the time. So thank you for being back.
Oh, thank you for having us. I can't believe it's been a year. This year has flown by.
Thank you. It does feel like the first day all over again.
It's my first day on the job, so if I make any mistakes, I don't know what I'm doing. So anyways, I think what we should start with is what's been going on with the two of you. I mean, you're obviously been doing so much, and you're famous now, and I'm exactly where I was a year ago. So tell us all about your rise to fame.
That's very funny.
That is funny. We still feel like it's the first day on our job as well. But we have literally just been learning so much over the past year. A whole lot of, from diet to environmental
environmental health, environmental stressors.
Behavior, so many things when it comes to cats and cat health. So it's been pretty amazing for us, actually, this past year.
Exciting year. Yeah. Very exciting year.
Taking a lot of notes.
Learning a lot.
You know, it's funny. I've told this story a few times. I think I've said it on the podcast. I don't know, but you guys know this. So there will be doing a Facebook Live. And I don't know why you always end up doing them on a Thursday. And I'm going through the market. And I've told you this before. I'll be watching. I have my phone up on the basket. And I'm pushing the basket around, usually with the wobbly wheel, as they always are. And you're doing your show. And I'm just having a blast watching it. And I don't know what happens, but I always end up down that terrible aisle, you know, that one that has dangerous foods.
Oh, no. We know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys are loud on there because I have the volume all the way up on the phone, and people are looking at me watching this, and I'm just going, yeah, you see that stuff you're buying? They're talking about it. Happens a lot.
That's hysterical. That's awesome.
I think I even mentioned it.
You can't, I mean, it's one way to do it. It's one way to do it, right? Yeah.
Well, it was funny. I had a couple people, you know, gather around the basket one time, and you're doing one of the shows, and I want to say it was maybe August last year, September. I can't remember, but this woman had a big bag of cat food under her arm. And I was like, yeah, these two, they would totally say otherwise. You probably want to put that back and listen to them. And they stood there watching you both while you were doing your show.
Really? Interesting. Did they put the bag back?
You know, I don't think she did, but she was debating. I don't think I was able to convince her enough, but she was debating how spending the $20 for one of these multicolored dyed crap bags of cat food is better than the $9 crap bag of cat food. And I just flipped them both over and said, look at the ingredients, they're identical. No, my cat's...
Hey, but maybe it planted a seed. I mean, we think, you know, as the two crazy cat ladies, we love our line of supplements, but we know that the biggest thing that you can ever do for your pets is change their diet to something that's going to fuel them in a healthy way.
It really is the best decision.
Jay has always been like the nutrition Nazi. Can I even say that these days? Like, she is all about once we know better, we do better. And she makes sure that we implement it, even if I'm not ready to do that. Because we have we've had some kibble addicts in our clouder, shall we say. And it's heartbreaking for me to take that away from them. I'm the one that's always like, oh, but maybe just a little bit. They love it so much. And then when you switch to wet food, it's like, oh, but they love the wet food. And then when she said, well, we're going to go to raw. And yes, I had heard about it. And I think it's funny. One of the biggest questions we get, people say, what is raw? Because we can't actually mean raw food. Like, that's crazy. I remember that feeling of raw food. Like, that's just nuts. So it's very foreign to people that are used to going to Walmart or their big box stores and picking up a bag of kibble because it looks pretty and whatever, and thinking that they're getting a great food for their pet.
And especially cat parents, because cat parents, I think dog health has come, is basically more popular.
It's evolving more quickly.
Yeah, it's evolving. There you go. It's evolving much more quickly than cat parents or cat health. Because cat parents aren't necessarily, well, actually, I don't know exactly. One reason being that we don't have as many ailments yet with cats than we clearly see with dogs, right? And that's, I think, mainly because of they're not bred as much. We don't have all the breeding with cats as we do with dogs. I think that plays a part in it, but cat parents are just they're a different breed than dog parents. I mean, there's several, cat and dog parents, but we hear all the time. We get phone calls from people who, are asking about our supplements and asking about, an issue their cat's having. And when we suggest feeding them raw or ask them
changing their diet,
or ask them have they ever thought about feeding raw, many of them will say, no, actually. I mean, I've always fed my cat kibble, but I actually feed my dogs raw, so that does make sense.
Right.
because the dog world, it's much more popular even in the companies that make raw food, right? That make pre-made raw foods, many of them don't even make cat food. They only make
specifically just for cats.
right.
I know we're rambling right now, but I do want to piggyback off of what Jason just said about, we see so many ailments with dogs, and it seems like dog health is evolving so much more quickly. I think one of the reasons as well that you don't see as much engagement with cat health is because cats are these tiny little predators, but they're also prey. So their instincts, they hide with every ounce of their being anything that's wrong with them. So oftentimes we see that something terrible is happening, and we won't know until it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have this time available to us as cat parents to say, oh, well, this is how we could treat this issue, right? Cats are so much more stoic in a way that we'll find out that there's something terminally wrong, and there's really nothing that can be done. That's why it's so important to us to be proactive when there's something that you start noticing, to really start looking at what you can do to optimize their health no matter what's going on, even if they seem completely healthy, because they're not going to come to us and say, oh, well, I don't feel like going for a walk today, or I don't feel like jumping in the car. And then you're like, oh, well, what's going on? Cats are just far more stoic. So I don't necessarily feel that there are less issues going on with cat health.
They're just not as noticeable.
Right. It's more difficult to see, which is why we're big advocates of paying attention to every bit of a cat's behavior, their litter box, their feeding habits, their water bowl habits, all of those things, because that's what we'll see if there's something that's different. Right. Okay, ramble over.
I love the rambling. That's what makes you so unique. I mean, it's just the greatest part. I mean, honestly, if anything, you're actually the ones who just kind of deflect all of my shiny red ball moments, and so that's actually much better. I mean, this is where I think I even said this last time. If we just did this every week, it would be fine with me. This is like the best scenario for any kind of show.
Well, it's because you're such a great conversationalist, though. You have started on something, and then we just can't stop.
It's true. It's true.
It's still my first day, by the way.
Well, you're very gifted on your first day.
I'll kind of share the little bit of the first day. So we were talking before the podcast started, and I was just saying it's my first day because that's the way I actually like to operate in any kind of aspects, so that I keep myself grounded. And what the first day mentality is, you can't screw up on your first day because it is your first day. And I don't really believe that I actually do the greatest thing when it comes to recording this. You guys are the ones who do it all. It's listening to your stories that is what matters. Instead of the shows that are out there, and I mean, we could talk about big shows to other podcasts to anything, you'll hear interruptions and all these interjections. I just want to hear what everybody has to say. So, I don't know. Still my first day. We'll go with that.
I love it. We love that mentality. And I think that that's the biggest thing that all of us, especially in this community of really looking at nutrition and what's best for our pets, is to start every day as though it's our first day. There's always going to be something new to learn. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be something new that we can incorporate. And if we get to that place where we think, oh, well, this is it. This is what's best. Then we stop learning and we stop growing. So that will never. We just can't handle that. There's always something new to learn.
No.
Well, yeah. I mean, everything changes so rapidly. I mean, you think back to what we were taught when we were kids, and it was completely wrong. But when it comes to cat health, and nutrition for our pets, it was completely wrong. And as we got older, it kind of changed gradually, slowly. Some of it was really quiet. And now look at where we're at. If we would have done this stuff when we were kids, our pets would have lasted probably a lot longer. And in 20 years, think about what like Claire, what she's going to be like, well, you were on to something, but you were completely wrong because this is how it should have been. Yeah, you're right. But I'm 20 years behind right now, so I don't know any better. But maybe I'll learn something tomorrow.
Well, I think about our Scotch boy, our oldest. He'll be 21 in June, June-ish, as far as we know. And I think about what we've learned in 21 years as cat parent to him. And I feel like it's not necessarily that everything was wrong, but there was just so much more, right? When we really care about these precious little souls that we're the guardians of in our lives, it's not that we ever don't want to do what's best for them. We're always trying to do what's best for them. It's just that there's always something new to learn, and there's always something more we can do. And it is just about paying attention and trying to continue to do what's best. You know, that saying, once we know better, we do better. It's always about seeking. So it's not that everything was wrong, but it's that we can't stop with what we think is right, you know?
Well, I mean, we fed kibble. I mean, it's not like that was right. I mean, all of us know it now, but at the time, did we know?
Right.
Nope. So, I mean, it's
21 years ago. Yeah. We carried around a bag of Meow Mix in the trunk of my car. That's how we came upon our Mr. Biddles when he was found under a stack of pallets out in an industrial park. And I was like, oh, I've got Meow Mix. And, at that time, it was just all kibble is kibble, and this one's just a little bit cheaper. So, and they love it. I mean, what's wrong with that? And we will still say to this day, a fed cat is always better than a starving cat. That's just the bottom line. But at that time, we didn't know better, and we were just trying to do the best that we could. Now, we've obviously grown up quite a bit in 21 years. We were babies 21 years ago, but it is about once we do know better, and it's about paying attention. We talk now about paying attention to our cat's behavior, them being such stoic creatures. You're not going to know if there's something wrong until it's really an issue. The same goes for learning about what does a cat need, what's good for their environment, what helps them have a good life. And there's so many, it's not just nutrition, there's so many things that go into providing a really great home for the pets that we bring into our home to share our lives with.
Exactly.
And it's funny.
Another ramble over.
No. Rambles. I'm gonna go to the settings bar and I'm gonna click ramble on. Okay, so ramble is now on.
Don't encourage us.
That's what I do. That's my job. At least that's what I was told on my first day. But it's hard with cats. I mean, now let's go with the 21 years. You hear it, I hear it. My cat's really old. Oh yeah, how old's your cat? 9. That's not old. That's not old at all.
No, but that's part of the. I mean, even veterinarians are spreading that myth. They're taught to believe that cats at 9
7 to 10 years old,
7 to 10 years old,
elderly, and then 10 to 15, they're geriatric. I mean, it's like you should be prepared to say goodbye.
Yeah, and I totally I totally disagree with that because I mean, for instance, our 21-year-old at 10 years old, he wasn't even at half of his life. So if we would have just kind of given up on his health and said, oh well, he's old, so he's going to be slowing down, and he's old, so he's probably going to start having kidney problems or whatever, and just accepted that as a part of life, like we do for elderly people a lot of times too. Well, they're old, so of course it's going to take them longer to get up and whatnot. If I would have accepted that at 10 years old, that he would have he wouldn't have lasted to 21.
Right.
But we didn't, and we and when you don't accept that they're, and that's what I just don't like. I don't like that it's even out there, and it paints this picture in people's minds that their cats are old, because then that's when they stop thinking that they need to be proactive any longer, or do anything, because they just expect the cat's health to decline. And I'm 100% against that, because cats can live a really, really long life. I mean, the oldest cats in the world were 30 plus years old, 34, 38 years old.
Yeah.
And the mayor of Alaska.
So why are we calling them old?
Right. And there was a mayor of one city, a small little town in Alaska, and it was a cat, and it had been the mayor since the 90s. It just died. I think it died early this year, or maybe it was sometime last year. But
I think I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, I didn't know about this until after the cat passed away. But it had been the mayor of this small little couple hundred resident town since 97, 98, something like that. It might have even been sooner than that. And I'm thinking to myself, and that's exactly what it was, because the cat would roam around town, and what's the cat going to do? It's going to see insects. It's going to do what? It's going to go and pounce on them and probably eat them. Well, there's lots of proteins in that, and minerals and vitamins. And they're going to go and chase down birds and rabbits and whatever it wants to hunt, and it's raw fed. And of course, then it had its kibble, but for the most part, that cat actually had exercise. It had a good life and nutrition. There it is.
Yeah. Well, and now one thing I want to add to that as well, though, is, and I do remember this, you had an entire town that loved this cat.
Yes.
I think that it's always, we can't overlook the impact that environmental health has on our pets. Inside, outside, upside down, however. When a pet is loved, when a pet is cared for, when a pet is stress-free, right? It adds an element of awesomeness to their life. And I think that's why, in our industry, we do very much focus on nutritional health, on prevention, on natural treatments, and all those things that are wonderful. Staying away from chemical toxins, staying away from chemical treatments, trying to stay away from, a lot of traditional medications that can take a toll or have side effects, just like they do in the human world, right? But we also can't think for a moment that the environment that we provide for our pets doesn't play its role. Yeah, a significant impact on their health, on their longevity, on their happiness as well. Oh, yeah. So, I think that, that story is such a great story, but I think it also exemplifies that, when a pet or an animal is given love and their natural, appropriate diet, has access to that it's an incredible, it's an inspiration. Yeah, and it does amazing things for their life.
Yeah, when you're talking about longevity, we're really talking about, there's much more. There's actually much more to longevity of life than just nutrition alone. It comes in so many different, and that's pretty much, really a lot that we've learned over this past year is that the overall so many different things, from household cleaners to air fresheners, plug-ins,
pesticides. You have pest control come to your house, right? Like all these things.
Pesticides and exercise and so many different things play a role in stress first and foremost. What stress does to an animal's body, and all of these things are things that we've learned and we continue to share with our followers and our clients, because it's really, really important if you want to keep your cat around. Yes, changing their diet is the best thing that you can, the first and best decision that you can make for your cat. But there are many other realms of overall health that needs to be addressed if you really are looking at having a cat live
a happy, healthy
forever.
Pet. Yeah, a happy, healthy pet.
But it's funny. Cats will stress out over everything. It could be the slightest thing. I'm asked this question, and I'm gonna actually push this question over to you, and it is, well, how can I make my house less stressful? I never know what to tell anybody because, of course, every house is different. In ours, we have fosters come in and out, so that puts a little bit of strain on the cats until they get used to it. Then they seem to be okay. But we have dogs, and that'll stress them out. Weather will stress them out. Us not being home will stress them out. It's like, what do we do to keep them not stressed?
Well, so there's actually a lot of little things. Obviously, you can't control everything when it comes to a dog or a cat, as far as their stress levels, right? Just like me, I have stress problems, and there's nobody that can change my anxiety levels.
Believe me, I tried.
There's nothing that can be done externally necessarily that can change my certain triggers to my anxiety. However, there are certain things, and we're talking when it comes to stress in cats. There's two of the main things are nutritional stressors and then environmental stressors. When it comes to the environmental stressors, which is what you're talking about, routine is a huge way to reduce the stress in cats. so cats like to know when they're going to be fed every day, when their litter box is going to be changed, and when they get to exercise or play. And those three things alone can reduce by setting a schedule of, you're going to be fed at this time and this time and this time every day, and we're going to play at this time or this time, and we're going to change the litter at the same time every day. We are reducing the stress in our cats by a lot, just so that they don't have that guessing game. That's one of the biggest things that we can do as far as reducing stress in cats. Now, the nutritional stressors, or actually still environmental stressors, if we're talking about environmental stressors, toxicity in the air. If they're having to breathe in things like hairspray and air fresheners, and you have these little plug-ins that are plugged in that we didn't know until recently that it's actually toxic to cats. If they're having to breathe this in on a daily basis, all the time, it taxes their system, makes them stressed out. And then we add into their nutritional stressors like carbohydrates, which is very high in way more than any cat needs in every kibble, good quality or not. Then this causes inflammation in the system, and the inflammation in our cat's bodies causes these nutritional stressors to the nth degree. And we're seeing, us personally, we're seeing an outbreak of feline hyperesthesia syndrome, which is basically an idiopathic illness in cats, where they literally, it's triggered by stress, but they literally just go crazy on themselves. Itching, scratching, it's usually on their back end. They overgroom themselves, and they literally have like little attacks where they, it's almost like a panic attack, really, in a cat. And we always, we're dealing with many clients with this issue right now, and we teach them all the importance in the several different ways that we need to go about reducing the stress in their lives, and it's making a huge difference in this one ailment.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that can be done to help reduce that stress, and I feel like the other thing that is also significant when it comes to our pet stress in general, and it's very scientific, is when we are stressed, our animals pick up on that very acutely.
They can literally smell it. So cats have these smell sensors, in their nose. And when anybody stresses, this is scientifically proven, when anybody stresses, a cat or a person, when we stress, we release this stress hormone called cortisol, and our cats can smell that. Literally, they can smell that, and it makes them stress. So one of the best things that we can do is to keep our stress levels low, because our cats carry our stress, and our dogs do too. They sense it, they carry it, and then they, in turn, are stressed out as well.
They know something is wrong. And you have a challenge specifically, especially bringing in fosters and having, new babies come and go in your home. If you're nervous about introducing new pets, it's harder. Yeah, it can actually escalate the situation, which is something that we know personally from incorporating Pooh Bear into our youngest boy into our home. We were nervous about it, and that escalated the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So
once we calmed down, they all became best friends.
Yeah. So our stress, our anxiety levels also play a very big role in the calm and the peace in the home as well, mm-hmm. especially for our pets, because they do sense it.
It's funny. I used to say we had a cat condo, which was our washroom, and I would bring in the new ones and put them in there, and they'd be in there for a little bit until we felt that they could actually intertwine with our other cats. Since the last time we spoke, uh-huh. we stopped doing that. We just said, you know what, your cats, you need to actually be able to meet each other and interact in a calm environment, and we don't isolate them anymore. And it's the weirdest thing.
How does that work?
It works.
Is it working out?
Yeah. Well, here's the simple analogy. When you put a couple kids on a playground with a couple other kids, what do? They just mesh. They don't think about anything. It's not a race, religion, what sex you are. They don't care. It's, you want to play? I want to play. Let's go play. And that's exactly what I get every time with them. It's really strange. And actually, I think it was because when we talked last time, we were talking about this, and I thought to myself, I think I'm doing it wrong. But, again, every day is my first day, so I learned something new, and there you go. But it does work out great.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
By the way, I didn't even mention this before we started recording, so ironic is this is going to be, I've only done a couple episodes, as you know, but the one thing that my daughter picks out of everything is she doesn't know anybody I've had on. But she goes, so have you had the 2 crazy cat ladies on yet? Or again?
Uh-huh.
You're the only one that she knows. She's paid no attention to anything else, but she's like, yeah, that's my favorite. Okay.
Oh, love her.
Such a good cat mom.
Yeah.
I forgot to tell you about that. I don't even know why I haven't even mentioned it. I've talked to you guys so many times, and yet I never mentioned it. I'm sorry. Yeah, actually, she asked me.
Are you cool?
Am I?
Are you cool having a crazy cat lady in the making?
Oh my god!
Right?
Yeah. I'm totally in for that. It's like, yeah, let's let me try to whatever it takes to get her to that. Actually, she is an amazing cat person. Anytime we have a psycho cat come in the house that has any kind of issues, we literally bring it, put it in her room with her, and in a couple days, she's able to calm it down. I don't know, and I'm.
Oh, she's tired. She's tired.
Yeah, it's.
Wow, what a gift!
Send her to Vegas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would go too, but we
Yeah.
darn schools.
Hey, but we should start talking. We should start talking about an internship. I think she's got the gift.
I still need.
You got some scouts here.
She kind of helps with all the fosters that need help. I mean, she had a half feral cat that literally would just turn the switch on over nothing. And she was able to sit there with this cat, hold on to the cat, the cat would let her hold it, she'd pet it. If any of us did it, the cat would sit on us for maybe a minute, and then all of a sudden would just turn and hiss, scratch at you, bite at you, and run. Not with Claire. She was able to...
See, yep. She's got the gene.
Yeah.
She's got the gift, Christopher.
So we got a new crazy cat lady in the making. But I want to let you know.
I love it.
She doesn't know anybody else who's been on, but she keeps asking, when are they coming back? When are they coming back? Yeah. So I never mentioned.
So she's got a couple scouts over here.
She's definitely a fan. I'll tell you that. But she's got to get in behind me. I'm first. But with that said,
well, her gift with ferals makes us a huge fan of hers.
Right?
Tell her.
We're her fans.
That's incredible.
Feral cats need love too. That needs to be a song. I just thought about that. That really should be a song.
Let's do it.
Yep, there he goes. It's a single. Now, it's funny because you mentioned anxiety, and I suffer from a great deal of anxiety, and of course, I took the next step to actually fix that problem by seeing a doctor. And it has changed a lot when it comes to rescues, fostering, even working with dogs or cats for that matter. I mean, you see me post all the time. Whenever I have a cat bath, it's my favorite. It literally is my favorite thing to do because they are so complex and you never really know what you're going to get. So I enjoy that. But for people with anxiety, the first thing I always tell people is, do you have a cat? Because it helps. And being that you're in the same boat as I'm in, what kind of advice do you have for all of us who suffer from a great deal of anxiety?
Well,
I'm going to let Jay take that one.
Well, no, I mean, it actually has been proven that cats, or pets in general, but there's a lot of studies on cats specifically, reducing stress in people.
Lowering blood pressure.
Yeah. Lowering risk of heart attack.
Reducing stroke and
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So, having a cat or being owned by a cat is a great stress reducer for sure. No question about it. But a lot of people have cats out of convenience, so they're not necessarily spending their time with their cat. So one of the things, I guess, advice that I could give is that if you do suffer from anxiety and you do have issues, then one thing, and you have cats, and one of the things that you can do is spend more time with them. You know, Adrienne's way better at this than me because I do have high anxiety, and so I'm always like, get her done, we got to get her done, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do that, and she's the one that's like, well, let's stop. I just want to love on the babies a little more.
I want to brush Mr. Bitter.
Yeah, doing things like brushing your cat, grooming your cat,
playing with your cat,
playing with them, petting them. You know, just spending time with them. It helps reduce your stress and it helps reduce theirs.
It helps improve their environment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It does, and you know, I mean,
so I have to sometimes put it in my schedule.
Oh God, schedules. Oh man, does it feel like our schedules have become more psychotic than our parents? Like it feels like our generation, we're always busy and going. You know, I look and I go, I can remember the standard adult would go to work and come home, and that was the day. Monday through Friday or whatever their Monday through Friday would be. And now it's what it was. Now there's so many things that we have to be part of. We have to go here, we have to go there, or we have, you know, social media and emails. Does it seem like we're actually loaded down more now than our parents were?
Oh, for sure. We're never disconnected. You know, Adrienne and I, we used to like, which we haven't done in like almost a year. We used to love going just up to the mountains and just go camping for a weekend. And the main reason that we would do that is because our phones wouldn't work and we didn't have a computer. And so we literally would have to just clock out, unplug from reality, I guess, or from the technical world, or just from the world in general, and spend some time in nature, regrouping, recentering, you know, breathing and renewing our spirits. Yeah, we are due for one of those.
Yeah, certainly. But you have to learn how to find that balance, you know, in this new age of technology, and you know, when like you said, when you're super busy, when you have so much going on, everything feels like a necessity. Jay certainly knows this. I'm looking at her to-do list right now. She actually writes it down, right? I mean,
I actually have on my Friday to-do list right next week's to-do list.
Every week. So there's a certain amount of balance that we're responsible for finding in our lives. And I think that, you know what, when we can, in the midst of all these necessities and all these obligations that we have to do and be certain things, to make it a priority to unplug for a little while, and whatever that means to you, right? I think that for me, I love brushing my Mr. Biddles. I love to just put the phone away and spend some time cooking dinner where we can actually have conversation and catch up, but not constantly be plugged in. You know, as business owners, there's never downtime. There's always something going on. There's always a customer with a question. There's always something that needs to be done. And we have to remember, though, that it's, you know, part of our job is to find that healthy balance. So that's such a challenge for so many of us. Jay.
You know, it's funny because I get that, and I just don't think anybody can understand that. You know, yes, having a business is great, but the hard parts are you're not making the money that you really think you're going to make. That's the fun part, is that you find out you actually make less because of all the expenses of having a business. It actually makes less money sometimes than what you would have had if you were an employee.
Oh, for sure.
If you want a day 100%. Off, you have to actually convince yourself to that day off instead of just telling your boss, hey, I need this day off. Yeah. You can lie to your boss. You can't lie to yourself. Kind of hard, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's no such thing as a day off here. Like, literally, I was sick a couple weeks ago, and I was sick. I had to stay in bed. So I had to get my computer and bring it to bed. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah, there is no time off, and it's not like, you know, asking for time off from yourself is a lose-lose situation.
Oh, yeah, it always is. My bosses are really hard on me.
Yeah, mine too. Mine too. Actually, you know, it's funny.
But there's something.
Go ahead.
But I was just gonna add that there's something about, you know, if being in business for yourself, and I'm sure that you know this as well. When you're in business for yourself, it's not necessarily about the money. Mm-hmm. It's about the the passion that you have, of the purpose that you feel that you have. And there's nothing more rewarding than seeing that actualized through someone who changes their diet or who adopts a pet or who, these things that they're just absolutely priceless. You can't put any kind of value on them as being, any monetary value on them.
Right. So, yeah, we may be broke, but we're making a small difference, and that's really what keeps us going, and what makes us happy, and that's why we do what we do.
Yeah. And if you can survive on living for your passion and doing your purpose, then there's really no greater joy. So, yeah, it's rough to ask for a day off because you won't get it, but it's an incredible experience.
It is. I just wish that there was a little bit more talk of this when we were in school on how to run a business and what to expect instead of that myth that comes with it. Because it is challenging that, you have your bank that's really telling you whenever you look at the account balance, that's your boss. Your customers are your boss. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that are your boss, and it's like, you hear it all the time that, you have your own business, you're lucky. That doesn't mean that I don't have all the stress. I have more stress. Are you kidding? I mean, and the messages every day. I mean, we get them. I know you get them. Of course, you're famous. We're not. So you probably get 1 million.
That's very nice.
You definitely have to get 1 million a day. And it's funny. I'm thinking back to just a year ago.
I don't know how you do your math, sir. I would say 1 million, but yes, actually, we do. We do spend the majority. I would say I spend the majority of most of the customer service. Most of the day, answering questions. In fact, we've had like 3 come through while we've been on the phone. Yeah, so, not 1 million, but but yeah, we do have questions quite often. But that's what that really is, Chris. That's what makes us learn. But it's our biggest teacher when we have questions about specific things, and a lot of times, and this, it's how we've learned a whole lot. Is we have a question, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is, or I've never heard of that before. So I need to find the answer. So I immediately research it, and I'm looking into it, and then I have the answer. But now I've learned something. So it's those kind of questions that really teach us the most.
You're being modest. You just ask your friend Karen Becker, hey, what do I do? And she, drops whatever she's doing, and she answers you.
Yeah,
Dr. Becker,
that's how it goes. Exactly.
For any pet parent, Dr. Becker is an invaluable resource. And she's a really good example of someone who's dedicated her life to improving the lives of our pets in ways that there's not necessarily a monetary reward at the time. She's been in this a lot longer than any of us, and such a pioneer. I think that what a great example, and yes, invaluable resource. But I think that to get back to that whole finding the balance, even being your own boss, and being like, my bank account is my boss, my customer is my boss. You have to find that perspective where it's your purpose and your passion that is the real motivator, so that you can keep that clarity of perspective when you are having a bad day, when you have people that are asking questions that you may not have the answer to right now. It can be overwhelming sometimes, as you know, to run your own business. So it's so important to keep that clarity of perspective in what the real motivation is for what we've decided to do. And I think that's the most rewarding part of it, is being able to bring it back to something very simple that means the most.
Or just forward all the messages to Karen Becker. Hey,
I'm going to start forwarding all our messages to you, sir.
Right?
Hey, you know what? I get them from the salon, and I get it from the podcast, so there is never a moment that it's just quiet. It is just always just chirp, chirp, chirp. I'm like that. The only time I don't look at messages is when I'm doing this right now. I have nothing up. No screens are up. It's such a distraction. No, okay. Here we go. Here I go off the rails. So I'm gonna do my best. Ooh, shiny red ball. So when you're doing Facebook Live, how is it you can actually go and do your show when you have all these people, including myself, having to chime in and not just distract and go off key? You do so well at not.
Well, nowadays, so we I don't know about that. Yeah, we could never stay on topic when we don't have, so now, when we don't have, like, not a script, but bullet points, so we have an outline. So nowadays,
an agenda.
Yeah, so nowadays we have, like, a specific topic, and then we write down what all the bullet points are that we want to hit, so that we make sure that we hit all those points in between or before going off the rails.
Right. We try to make sense. Well, because and you can look back at our lives. We don't take anything down. It's like we literally decided to put on our ramble pants and go live. We just sat there and just ramble about things, have a glass of wine, talk about cats. But it is, what a great resource. I don't know if resource is the word. Facebook is great for getting in front of an audience to share with them what we've learned. Yeah. And it's really exciting when you have people that are like, oh my God, thank you so much for sharing this. I've been asking about this. I don't know where to find this information. Can you help with this situation? That's what's really rewarding, is being able to share what we learn, and then we all grow together. It's an incredible experience. Yeah. There's nothing more rewarding.
No, when you think about, like, the small percentage of, our community as a whole they're focused on diet, nutrition for their pets. We're at maybe 5% now, 5% of the total, pet population. So there's still 95. When it comes to cats, I'd say probably maybe 2 or 3%. So there's a huge percentage of pet parents cat parents that we want to be able to reach out to and make, even if it's just the smallest difference in the world, even if it's not, diet, even if it's just adding, a little bit of fresh food into their daily routine, or if it's, getting rid of the plugins, or, just the other day on Instagram, I did a silly little cat tip of the day on, make sure that you wash the bowls, even if you're feeding kibble, on a daily basis, because the bacteria build up in the bowls. And so many people were like, wow, I haven't thought about that. Thank you. And you think about that small difference that it is actually going to make in these feline lives, and it's super rewarding.
It's almost kind of one of those, it's obvious, but it's not so obvious, is it? And that's the hard part for me. Even now, I'm still going, this is all just normal. Everybody knows this stuff. But I realize, no, not everybody knows this. Majority of people don't. Scary.
Well, and that's why it's so important to be able to share the information from the perspective that, 12 years ago, Scotch is a good example. The first 12 years of his life, he was on subpar kibble, and I know that he's probably facing some issues because of that. But when I think back to who I was as a pet guardian 21 years ago, I'm ashamed of it, right? But I can't, this isn't about saying to somebody, oh, you're doing this wrong. This is about inviting them to love their pet the way that they want to love their pet. These are not people that don't care. These are not people that think, oh, well, they're just kooky, or these are people that genuinely love their pet and want to do the best, but especially in this day and age, there's so much information out there. What should they do? And then the dailiness of it, when you're running to work and taking the kids here and doing this and doing that, it's like, do you really have time to be like, oh, well, is this the best kibble I should be feeding my cat? Should I even be feeding my cat kibble? These are, it takes time. It takes a little bit of dedication to learn something. So it's about an invitation. It's not about saying you're doing this wrong. Right. It's about saying we know where you've been, and it's not as hard as you may think. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. No, it's just about doing a little bit.
Just take the baby steps. Take the baby steps, and make small changes, and small changes over time. We call it compound interest. Where making these small changes consistently over time makes a huge, huge difference.
I realized that we've been adulting for like 45 minutes. This is not our style.
Oh my God.
We are actually adults all of a sudden. What the heck? This is supposed to be fun.
Don't tell anybody, Christopher.
My bad. If I knew how to edit...
Don't let the cat out of the bag.
If I knew how to edit. Let's see. It's my first day, so I don't know how to edit. So we'll just got to Nobody heard that. Nobody heard that.
You can cut it down a little bit.
Not even a try. Not even. Now, okay. I know it's weird to say this, but it's May. And back in March, if I did the math correctly, which we've all figured out my math is way off, You
A little bit.
A little bit. I still say 1 million messages a day, but give or take 2 or 3. Back in March, you actually were with Karen Becker, and honestly, I didn't know when it was going to happen. I remember Jay told me, "Hey, I got a secret for you," and I was like, "Really? What is it?" And when I found out, I was like, I was all giddy, and I mean, it was ridiculous.
It was the best secret ever. Yeah.
I tried not to, I didn't want anybody to know, so I kept it very quiet. But the only thing that is that I was really hoping that Karen was going to be live with you guys and not by satellite. But hey, I can't complain too much. That's my only
She's a busy gal.
Yes, but I was excited. I was like, oh my God, she's gonna go to Vegas and it's gonna be on the side of the and I was like, oh, but it was so much fun. I actually watched it I was watching it while washing dogs. So it was because
That's impressive.
I can't sit and watch anything. I have to be doing multitask. That's just how I am. But I had a blast. Take us back to all of this, because did you tell me about this in January, Jay, or was it February? I can't remember when you told me, but I was like, wow. And I just want to know what went on, how did it all come down, and what was it like?
It was very interesting, actually, because I don't know when I told you, but I know towards the end of last year, 2017, we were making our 2018 plans, and one of our goals was to get up the nerve to ask Karen Becker for an interview, so that we could interview her about several different cat things and cat situations or cat health issues. And then I think it was actually like December when I got a message from her. So it was before 2018. I got a message from her that said, I'm hosting a Cat Week extravaganza, and I'm interviewing people about cats and cat health. And if you guys are interested, I'd like to chat cats with you. And I was like, oh my gosh, did that just happen? It's like one of those, The Secret, where you just put something out into the universe and then it comes to you. It was like one of those things. So we were like, wow.
It was also an epic happy dance. I have to.
Oh yeah, there was lots of happy dances going on.
There's a dance happening.
Because she literally is like our favorite person on the planet. So yeah, and we learned so much from her blog, from her experience. Yeah, just from her experience. So yeah, I don't know. It was literally just like a flash in the pan.
It was very exciting because first of all, Dr. Karen Becker was doing a Cat Week extravaganza, so we were off the rails. And we knew some of the other people that she was going to be interviewing, but she really created an invaluable resource for so many cat parents.
Yeah.
All in one spot, all 1 week, to really listen to people and their different experiences and the different information that they had to share. And I feel like, so often we have so many of our clients say, oh, well, this is good for pets. This is good for pets. This is good for dogs. This is good for cats. Cats are so often neglected in a way, in our opinion. We might be a little biased. So when Dr. Karen Becker said she's doing a Cat Week extravaganza, it was incredible. So we obviously certainly honored and outrageously excited to be a part of it. It was wonderful, and it was a great week for us as well. I mean, we got to learn from so many other people.
We learned so much that week just from the different interviews that she did on all kinds of different, from disease to just overall nutrition to alternative treatments that we'd never heard of. So it was super. I mean, we were super excited that she was hosting a whole week dedicated to cats. But yeah, we were also very honored.
We did a YouTube show, Christopher. You should watch it. We make no sense. We're just rambling on about how excited we are
about Cat Week. Yeah, the week before.
Extravaganza. It's coming up. Yes, and it was a slight happy seizure we were having. So it was amazing.
Wait. Time out. Hold on. You think that I don't watch you guys on YouTube?
So you already saw it.
Yes. That's what makes it. This is why I always say you're the professional. I just do this. It's.
Don't you dare label us professional. We can't adult that long.
We can't adult that long.
We can't do that.
Well, I mean,
crazy talk.
I that's why I always find it always fun. I mean, I always watch all of your stuff, and you know, I watch your dailies, and then I watch whenever you guys go live. If I see it live, I'm like, and there's occasional times that, you know, I'm away from the phone, which it's kind of rare. But if I am, and I'll see that you guys are finishing up, I'm like, oh man, I missed that. And I always like to watch it live. Personally, I do like to watch it live because it's more fun. Because I know you're doing it right there and then. I don't have the courage to go and do that. I don't.
It's just your first day. You wait.
Yeah, it's my first day. Maybe 4 years down the line when I'm doing this for 4 years, maybe then I'll do it. But not on day one. So it's just one of those things. But it's so much fun to watch, and I don't obviously. You know, with your massive success, and yes, I understand that being on Karen Becker's, you know, part, I can imagine it would change everything. But in a year, I remember when we first started all of this, and I think it was March of last year, I can't remember, but I think you had like 1,400 likes on Facebook. I mean, it was a good number, don't get me wrong. And within a few months, you were in the 20s. And you guys have just massively exploded. Where there's even a point where I've been asked about you. Where people have asked before, you know, they'll say, oh, you've actually interviewed the Crazy Callies. Yeah. Is that all a script? Do they just do that, you know, the whole thing? Is that a bit? I'm like, no, that's them. No.
Can you imagine if they're just like, yes, Christopher, this is exactly what we are talking about. Take it away, Jane. We can't do scripts. No. But I do think, you know, you mentioned how many followers you've had, and that's something that's so exciting to us. But I think it's really a reflection of the fact that cats are so often neglected, and so for people to be able to find a resource that is really just about cats, it's exciting to them, and it shows just how many people out there are looking for ways to make their feline lives even better. It's very exciting for us to be a part of. Yes.
I always find it really difficult that people really don't put a lot of emphasis on cats. It's almost like that whole quote-unquote property, it's like a goldfish to some people. I'm like, cats are awesome. I mean, I was a cat person well before, all throughout my life. I became a dog person more or less within the last maybe 7-8 years. So it's like, I only knew cats. My wife was only a dog person. Now she's a cat person. My wife was like, cats are boring. When we first met, and you know, we're talking 2003, I think. She's just like, cats are boring. What do? They just sit, they sleep, they lick themselves, they go to the bathroom. I'm like, no, they're so much fun. And now
there's so much more.
She's addicted to cats now. She's a crazy cat person.
Yeah. I've actually heard people talk about cats as practice pets. You know, it's like, you know, especially like, you know, new couples. They're thinking about having kids one day, and then they're thinking about maybe having a dog. Maybe we should start with a cat. Like it's a gerbil, and believe me, I think of gerbils as just as much of a pet as any other. Goldfish as well, by the way. Let's be considerate of all living things. But I think a lot of people tend to think that, you know, cats they're very convenient. You can throw down a bunch of kibble. You can leave them for 2 or 3 days on their own. They're fine. You don't have to walk them all the time. It's a practice pet. It's a convenience companion. Like, you want something to come home to, but you don't necessarily want to have to be considerate of them on a regular basis. Imagine if we treated the people in our lives the way a lot of people treat their cats. Come home, go about their day, like, oh, there's the cat over there. Hey, good night. Potato chips. Right. I mean, I think in a lot of ways, cats have a lot to overcome because their personalities are more independent than dogs, because they're less reliant on human interaction to have some kind of joy in their life, seemingly. But I don't think that's actually the case. And I think that the more that you learn, you realize that cats are very intuitive, emotional, incredible, complex creatures. And it's really our fault that they have the stereotypes that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really, when you think about it, like when it comes to, say raw feeding, for instance, which is something that we're, do a lot of talk or do a lot of teaching about, do a lot of teaching about. As far as it comes to with cats, it's actually a lot harder. They're not as easy as it is with dogs to feed them correctly. You know, because they get addicted to the kibble crack, and they they're more picky and finicky when it comes to food and routine. They're creatures of routine, so they like the same thing over time. So it's not as easy if you're really properly caring for their health and being proactive about it. They're not as easy as dogs. Now, no, you don't have to walk them, but they do need their exercise. The average cat parent doesn't exercise their cats. We're bad about that. Even to this day, we don't exercise them as much as we should.
We definitely don't have it as part of our everyday routine.
Mm-hmm.
But, a lot of people just think that cats like to, sleep on their little throne somewhere and want to be fed. It's so much more than that. And I feel like if there's anything that's really been a revelation to us, people called us crazy cat ladies long before we actually took that name ourselves. It's because there are actually so many more of us, so many more of us than people are willing to admit sometimes, that really want to know what's best for their cat. Because there's this stereotype that, lots of people have dogs, and then you find out, oh, well, we have a cat too. It's such a secondary pet in a way. And to people that really know and love cats, I think that there's such a social stereotype about it, that crazy cat lady stereotype that we're trying to people aren't proud of it, right? But they know and we know that cats are so much more complex, and it's an incredibly rewarding relationship to have. And finding out what's best for them and doing what's best by them is really our goal. So it's very exciting to have so many people join us on that journey.
Yeah, people that really pay attention to their cats, and even if not everyone pays attention to their health, for instance, but they really pay attention to their cats, and they see their personalities, and every cat has a different personality, and they are really so exciting to spend time with and even just watch. And those that do, that really love their cats in that way, are those that are coming together into our, crazy cat lady community, which I'm super excited about, because, it's a great community to have. It's good to have other people around us. I mean, we don't even have very many friends here in Las Vegas with cats. Actually, I think we only have one.
You're one. Yeah, I can only think of one that I know you're friends with who has a cat, but I don't. It's the only person I'm thinking of.
Yeah, but here in Vegas, most of our friends either have a dog or don't have a pet at all, and so it's really it's rewarding for us too to be able to be in a part of a community of other cat lovers.
It is incredible to watch it continue growing. So it's very exciting.
I always think if you need to practice anything, get a plant. Those are very difficult to keep alive. I mean, seriously.
They sure are.
That's a really good point.
I just say go get a plant. I mean, I tried gardening once, and they all died really quick. And I'm thinking, boy, how do people do this? It wasn't my thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we've tried several times. We're not great at it either.
Yeah, it's not that good. Now, I'm gonna talk about a couple people. I'm gonna bring up a couple people in just a bit. But I wanted to, when you were talking about exercise, I was thinking, adventure cats, and that whole concept.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it, and you already know, and I'll mention that person in a moment. But I was like, adventure cats? What is the what? I didn't know that it was really a thing and a possibility. And of course, let's see, the 13th of April is when Adventure Cats came on the podcast. And so I was even lost until it was brought to my attention. And it wasn't even something we talked about last year. Is it that new of a thing, or am I just completely been living under a rock?
No, it is definitely a newer. I'm sure it started a long time ago, but it's now just getting to the forefront of the cat community. I think where people are, and we're so excited because we're hoping that we may be adopting a couple new kittens soon, and it's our goal to make them adventure cats, because it's harder when you have older cats. We put a harness on Twister because we were like, okay,
we're sure
this was like last year, or we were like, we are going to make Twister, Oliver Twist is his name, and we call him Twister or Mr. Twister.
Mr. Twister.
We were like, he is the perfect adventure cat. So we bought him a harness. And we have a video.
We're going to take him camping.
We're going to go hiking, and so
he was an outdoor stray, and we thought, oh, he'll love it.
Yeah,
and he's such a feisty boy. We thought this is going to be great. We put the harness on,
and he fell over.
That's
It was,
funny.
it was pretty upset.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Don't do well
I mean,
with
because
that.
the cats can
No.
especially those that don't wear collars or don't have, we don't dress up our cats or anything like that. So
Some cats are more cooperative than others, obviously.
and they're all of a sudden like, what is weighting me down?
Yeah, it was very funny. So although we have to say, I mean, we talked earlier about us going on camping to be able to unplug, and we've actually run into people that bring their cats camping. So we've met real adventure cats out in the wild. It's very exciting. I mean, and you can see that that's something too about, a cat's environment. They love to be stimulated by, crazy stuff or watching it. What it's like to see a cat.
Yeah,
with
a
in the house.
bug.
Right.
Yeah.
They love it. Oh my gosh, they love it so much. So we do want to be able to incorporate some of that environmental excitement into their lives. But so far, it's not working with our Oliver. Not yet.
Well, it's funny. I think the cats you're talking about, I think they're about 100 and some miles away from where I'm at, because I talked to that person just this week. So we were talking about it. I don't think we talked about it while recording. I think we talked about it, in between. But I was like, oh my God, really? So that was kind of a funny.
Yeah.
That was a funny kind of coincidence. So okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
We're really excited.
the people I'm going to mention, of course, as you can imagine, they're expecting that I would mention. There's at least two of them, but I want to start with Troy Allison of Fetching Foods. Now, that was a very interesting kind of introduction. I mean, I talked to him because I was really intrigued by the whole plant-based diet. And I saw the whole formula where he had something, and then all of a sudden we start talking, and that became an instant friendship. And then you guys got to meet him, and it's become a great thing. So I always like to, I love talking about people that we've all kind of connected with, and I wanted to, bring that into the conversation, of course, about Troy, and just hear your you guys.
Yes. So Troy is awesome. One, we have to thank you for introducing us. Yeah, you're the one that introduced us to him.
It's my first day.
After he was on your podcast.
I didn't do anything. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay,
Totally your fault.
but he is amazing. And what I love about Troy and his business, Fetching Foods, is that he's actually working with some of our customers to customize specific diets for specific issues. So, for instance, we have a customer that has one cat. She has several cats. She has 15 cats. One of her cats has hyperthyroidism. Another one has pancreatitis. She has one that just had a cancerous tumor removed, and we're working with her through supplementation, and we're working with her vet with our supplements to really help, especially the cat with cancer, who's doing fantastic right now, by the way. We're working with her in that way, but we don't formulate foods. And I know after our introduction to Troy with Fetching Foods, we put them in touch, and he's able to formulate specific diets that's helping her cats now thrive and stay off of medication. And, between his diet and our supplements, her cats are doing so wonderful. And that's for me, that he's the only pet food company that I know that will work with their clients. And he may not be the only one out there, but he's the only one that we know that works with their clients specifically, one-on-one, to formulate diets for a specific ailment that their cats are facing.
Well, and I want to piggyback on top of that. I think like Jay said, he's the only one that we know, and especially in this community, knowing your source goes a long way. And I think, Troy's business, his business model, what he's doing, the passion and integrity that he puts into his product is really incredible. So it's awesome, especially someone local.
Yeah. And I should mention that he also does the same for us.
Right.
Yes, he does. We don't have cats with specific ailments, but we do have very specific needs. We have a cat that's allergic to fish, and then we have, 2 cats with with elevated kidney levels at their older ages, that we've been able to control with supplementation for the past few years. But now we have a diet that we can also work with. So
love that he's put his, he's I think he's a retired athlete. I don't know if that's the word for him. It makes him sound old, but he's not. He's had a lot of nutritional training in his life, and I love seeing that he's taking that next level to really provide such a high quality product for our pets. It's fantastic. It's also worth mentioning that he might be our new favorite cat dad in the world. He recently adopted King Samson the Great. Mm-hmm. Beautiful baby. I'm not sure how old he is now.
Our godson.
He said we could be godparents to King Samson. Beautiful baby. So not only does he take his passion for pets into the nutritional world, he really lets it lead into caring for pets in his own life, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And, I always loved, it was funny, he says to me one time, he goes, "Hey, did you know I made a Facebook page for King Samson?" I'm like, "Yes, I liked it. I think I was the second like on there." He's like, "Oh, you did?" I'm like, "Yes."
So you already know King Samson. Oh my God. I just this morning got to watch his videos of chasing the toes under the covers. That's a really wild man.
Oh, precious.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna just climb into my." Well, at the time I was watching it on my phone. I was like, "If I climb into my phone, will that work?" Yeah, it definitely did. Yeah, it's funny because he was one of the pre-interviews we talked before we actually started recording, and he was waiting for me to kind of come down on the whole. Going for kind of like a vegan meal. I'm like, no, that's not what I do. Unless you're PFI or one of those idiots that I don't like and I've made it clear, then yes, I will. Or Dry Kibble Company, which I have now I now have the new slogan. I'm the podcast that Dry Kibble Companies don't want you to listen to, and it's actually been a thing. So I take that as a badge of honor. I'm very happy.
Yeah, it is.
That one I wear that.
Congratulations.
I need a shirt. Thank you. I need a shirt that actually says this, or a tattoo maybe. I don't know. But
start with the shirt, Christopher. Start with the shirt.
I'm like tattoo. She's like.
Well,
and I always start with a t-shirt.
Always start with a t-shirt. Yes, don't just get anything tattooed. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I've yet to actually get a tattoo, but I know what I want. But it has to do with my daughter and her original handprint when she was first born, and that's just that only tattoo I'd ever want is to do with her. I would never.
Oh, well, and it's something external, so you could do that.
Yes.
She's like, I will approve of that.
I approve of that. But don't go get a PFI tattoo, baby. Don't do that.
No. And where I would put it would be explicit, and then I had to change the content of the shit. Never mind, I won't go there.
Yeah. Good.
They still don't like me, by the way, but that's okay.
By the way, stating the obvious.
Yeah, right. And I think that they actually do listen. They put me in Facebook jail, them and some big kibble companies have put me in Facebook jail, but it's okay. It's worth it. It's worth it. They don't want you to hear what we have to say.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's a perfect transition to the next person. Now, I know that when we recorded last time, I don't think you guys had met personally. I think you guys had talked before, but Cole Harrington. Now, I know how you feel about him. So, I love talking about him. I still have the Pet Fooled poster up in my shop. And I continue to talk about him. And I know you've had a lot of interactions with him over the last year. And, of course, I always like to talk about good people.
Yes, yeah. Cole's our new best friend.
We're real BFF.
Yeah, we're BFF now.
But we don't know if he knows that yet. But we love him.
Yeah, no, he's absolutely fantastic. I mean, the film Pet Fooled, and we actually still pass out in every one of our orders that we ship out. We still pass out a brochure about Pet Fooled as well, because it's really literally just the best from a beginner's perspective, from somebody who just might question for a second, am I feeding my dog or cat the best diet? You know, it's for anyone. It's really the best way. I mean, way better than us just talking your head off or telling you about it or trying to regurgitate it. I mean, he spent 5 years, blood, sweat, and tears, learning more about in depth about the pet food industry and the pet food companies, and he came at it with no bias. And that's what I really love the most about this film, is that the filmmaker, Cole Harrington, didn't even have a pet, and he still doesn't have a pet. And but you know, his friend had a pet and had some issues, and said, you need to look into this. And he started digging into the pet food industry without, you know, knowing what he was going to find. And what he found was, you know, what we've been preaching since 2005. But he put it together in such a way that it makes the average pet parent can actually understand better, you know, what about nutrition for their pets.
Well, and I think, you know, he has a gift. He's a very talented filmmaker, but and not to say but the admiration that we have for the level of dedication and integrity to product that he created is just off the charts. The fact that he spent that much time, he spent more time learning about an industry than most pet parents do, obviously. But really trying to find the truth about something. I mean, he's investigative journalist, talented filmmaker. He's a pet advocate without even having a pet himself, just trying to find the truth of the situation and being able to share that. The epitome of someone who is learning and sharing and helping an entire community of pet parents grow. Just a very impressive human. I love that he is continuing to learn, and it's very exciting to actually be a part, get to know the guy. I mean, as you well know.
Oh yeah,
he's just an impressive human.
Yeah, he's amazing, and he's continuing on this with the Talk To campaign, and I know that he's, you know, working on filming articles too. So he's you know, he hasn't even put it down yet while working on other documentaries at the same time, or other films at the same time. But really, I mean, when it comes down to just Cole as a whole, I think probably the one thing that I'm most grateful for when it comes to him is he literally is the one person that brought so many people together in our community, you know, so that we can, and we're so much stronger together than we ever were individually. And he brought us all together, and so that we can shine as a whole industry instead of little pockets here and there. And I really don't think he even understands that. I don't think he even knows, because that wasn't necessarily his goal. I don't think he even knows that he brought us all together.
When Pet Food came out, it really exposed all of us who have been kind of in the trenches on this for many years. It exposed all of us to each other, and you know, since Pet Food came out, we've developed some incredible friendships with a lot of the people in the industry and that have been doing this for a long time. And it's just like Jay said, we're all stronger together than we are separately. And what's incredible about this community of fresh feeders, the people that are interested in nutrition, passionate about pet health, is that we're far more collaborative than we are competitive. And it's a beautiful thing, because people's true motivations are about the health and happiness of their pet. And it's an incredible industry to be a part of.
Absolutely.
And a lot of that is full fault for helping us all to see each other and meet each other.
And you know, it's funny, because now I don't know if he'll be at Super Zoo this year. I don't know if he'll go, but I'm pretty sure he will. And I already know 2 crazy cat ladies who most likely will be there. I'm not naming names, but I'm pretty sure that they'll be there. I mean, if there's any reasons to go to Super Zoo, it's just, you know, for those reasons. But, you know, here are the 2 most famous cat ladies out there who I've already mentioned are on a one-on-one with Karen Becker, which you've actually succeeded me. I have yet to have her on, so you're already way ahead of me. You have Cole Harrington, you have Troy Allison, and the other person that I just was able to talk to and will be coming up later on this year is Vicki Larson.
Our favorite, she's one of our favorite cat ladies.
She says to me, she goes, I know them.
Amazing.
I'm like, oh, you know them.
Speaking of impressive humans, yeah, Vicki Larson is just such an inspiration.
She's one of our longest time customers. So she started purchasing our products, calling us, and us talking, back and forth about cat health and different things like that. Almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was in our very first year of business.
Yeah,
and she's a really good example too of what we were saying earlier. Of being in this community, being able to learn from others. Vicki Larson is a pro.
She's been raw feeding her cat for over 20 years. Her cat for over 20 years. Before it was ever a thing, when she was considered crazy and cuckoo by the veterinarians when she was like, no, I'm feeding raw. She's gone through quite a bit of, scrutiny. Scrutiny. There you go. That's the word. Scrutiny for feeding raw. And she's really just, and she has so much knowledge, and experience behind it that, we learned from her a whole lot. And I would say I talk to her almost every day. Almost every day. We talk, and discuss it. And she's probably one of my favorite people as far as somebody that I can bounce off cat health, cat nutrition to. And she's like us. If she doesn't know, she'll go and research it. And then sometimes she'll come to us with a question and we don't know, so we go and research it. So she's far beyond a customer now. She's just a great friend.
Yeah, and I don't get to talk to her as often as Jay does, but one of the things that I love about her most is the compassion that she has for animals. It literally makes my heart swell, the amount of love and attention that she gives to not just her cat, her dog and her goats and her chickens and what are the big beautiful birds?
The peacock.
Are they peacocks?
Yeah, she has a lot. She has the turkeys, the cows.
Oh my God! I just want to go pitch a tent on Vicki's property and live there. She's such a beautiful human being, and she really exemplifies that kind of. And not just I love my pets, but she's so proactive about their health.
Yeah,
she's so informed. She's dedicated so much of her time to doing the best.
She's perfect.
She is perfect. And we're just so blessed that our journey as the two crazy cat ladies has intersected on her path as well. It's just such a blessing. She's incredible.
Yeah.
Just, it's funny because as it goes on and on and on, you've not only created a brand, but you really have created a community of your own. I mean, I agree. Cole was able to bring people in, but you brought people in a whole different way, and you have. So I think what Cole did by exposing it, you were already there, and that's the whole thing. You've been doing it for quite a while, and you have that. It's not a business. It's a community, and that's the difference behind it all.
Yeah,
that's so well. Yeah, you're so spot on.
And it's funny because when this whole thing started even a year ago, I had heard about you guys, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna contact you guys, and I really honestly didn't expect to hear anything back. And I never expected, in my wildest dreams, when this whole thing happened, that, I would talk to you guys all the time. So for me, it's kind of funny because it's this conversation on record here is only the second one, but there's been conversation after conversation after conversation throughout. And I'm
it's an ongoing conversation,
right? And I always kind of feel bad because I'm like, man, we've carried so many different conversations over the year. And more are to come, but it's just oh yeah, and you've only been on twice. How's that possible? But then again, you're so busy filming and being celebrities and answering your million questions a day, because that's my.
You can't put celebrities and million anything in a sentence and actually think that you're talking to us. I'm just saying.
Well. I mean, I know for a fact that you guys are absolutely massively famous, and of course, after the whole thing with Becker, it really exploded, you guys. So that was awesome. I heard that you guys absolutely just went to a whole new universe, which it's really what you guys deserved from the very beginning. That's for sure.
Well, the really cool thing about the Dr. Karen Becker interview is that it literally brought so many. What's exciting about it is that it brought so many cat parents that are passionate about their cat's health. So, when it comes to a lot of our, for instance, like say our big Facebook group, right? Our Facebook community, many of them, I would say the majority of them are still at the level of I feed kibble and I just love cats and I love my cats. So it's, I can't remember who it was that said this recently, but you have, the different levels of, you have the cat parents that just love their cats. And then you have, and that may be like, say, junior high. And then you go to, high school. And then you go to college when you're on your different levels. And we want to reach everybody where they're at. We want to talk to everybody where they're at. But it's really exciting when you get somebody like Vicki Larson or like all the people that came to that have come to us since the Dr. Karen Becker interview that are already, in high school or, seniors in high school. And they already know that they need to do great things for their cats. And they just want to, meet together with other people who really want to do great things for their cats. So
the powerful thing is that, Dr. Karen Becker has been doing what she does, bringing proactive pet health to pet parents for so long that the audience that she's accumulated over this amount of time is really focused on trying to do the best nutritionally and environmentally and all the ways that Dr. Becker really encourages pet parents to treat their pets. So we were exposed to an audience of people that are already aware of the power of nutrition, the power of the environment of their pets' lives, that sort of thing. So that was something that was really exciting to us. We're so grateful to Dr. Karen Becker for that because we're now talking to people that have already been on this journey for a long time and they want to know very specific things. And
we get to learn from them too.
Right. It was just a very exciting time. I mean, it was a huge influx of lots of communication and lots of
new questions.
Yeah, new questions. So much new activity, and we're that's all Dr. Karen Becker's fault because she's spent so much of her life accumulating this audience of people that are really seeking. So, very excited to meet those people at that level. Yeah. Very exciting for us.
Just like Cole brought together the industry leaders, if you may, in pet health. She brought together for us cat, what's the word? Proactive cat parents, I guess you should say. Yeah, proactive cat parents in front of us. So that was, that's super rewarding and wonderful and, learning experience for us too.
Yeah, so many of them are, they're already feeding raw, they're already feeding a species-appropriate diet or making the diet themselves, but they're dealing with, hyperesthesia or something that may be more caused by stress in their lives or something like that. It's just a very, arthritis, things that they're just so, what's always the most beautiful thing is being a part of seeing how well people love their pets and seeing if there's anything that we can do to help them love their pets back better. It's very exciting. Yeah.
You see why I went to the settings bar and I didn't turn off rant? I wanted it to go on there. And this is why. This is exactly why. This is exactly why, folks. This is exactly why. I want to get them started so that they just go. It's just perfect.
He just gets riled up. That's right. he knows our buttons.
I do. That's apparently it was on my job description. I didn't read that part, but now I would be completely lax in asking my last question because sadly enough, what I hate about podcasts is they only have so long to be able to store each episode. But the question, of course, is what's new in the supplements?
What's new in the past year in our supplements? So, okay, I can't remember when we product. Yeah, in our product line is what you're speaking of, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so last year we came out with a fantastic product called Cat Calm. So for years we were, when we first started this business, one of the main questions that we got was, do you have anything to calm their anxiety? Do you have anything to calm my cat down? And we didn't. We could address all the different stressors and things like that, but and how how you can help a cat stress environmentally. But when it comes to products, there's kitty Xanax, and there's all these chemicals, and we are
plug-in.
Yeah, and things are often things that just don't work, and we got together with our manufacturer, who is in Oklahoma, a holistic animal scientist, Dr. Campbell, and they were able to formulate this amazing super herbal liquid formula that is activated by water, and you just either add it to some food or you can add it to the water dish, whatever works. But it has done wonders for our cat specifically. He was our Pooh Bear. Yeah, our Pooh Bear, who is really high anxiety, would not come upstairs for 2 years, living in our home, would not come upstairs, was totally scared that he would get bullied, had litter box issues quite a bit,
aggression issues,
and and would not. He would fight with the other cats or just not be around them at all. So we started giving it to him, and it was literally within like a week, I would say, he started coming upstairs, and now he comes upstairs all the time, and he snuggles with the other boys, and he plays with the other boys, and he's just he's so much more. Yeah, it's like night and day how it's helped him, and we put it in his food every day. And
it's worth mentioning too. A lot of people think that like kitty Xanax, for example, it's essentially a sedative in a way. You're just trying to get your cat to calm down and clock out, and watch your little eyes glaze over, and they're far more cooperative now. This is in no way a sedative. It literally addresses the
anxiety.
The anxiety from the inside out. There's nothing.
I'm sure if you gave them a lot more than we recommend, it could probably make them a little sleepy, I would say. But it's human grade. Like, we've taken it ourselves as well. It's really, a great formula. So that's one.
That's
and then I think, that's our big one. The last one that we came out with before that was the Flex, and I don't know if that was before we spoke to you or not.
Yeah.
Do we already have it, or?
You already had it, but it's always worth mentioning again.
Yeah, right now. Right now during flea season, it's an all natural flea spray for cats, and that was also a new product, but I guess it was over a year ago.
But the big thing about that, I think, is especially here recently, we had a client share with us the video of cats having a reaction, essentially a heartbreaking seizure to flea treatment. And as we know, a lot of these chemical treatments have that. But, side effects could include this and that and whatever. We're always advocates of, if you can treat it naturally, do that. Avoid those side effects completely. And the great thing about Flex and a lot of the natural flea products that are out there is that they can be used as a preventative. So flea season is coming. Start using these products as a preventative so that you don't get an infestation. And if you do find yourself in that situation, treat it naturally so that you're not shocking your cat system with these powerful chemicals, trying to get rid of something that's really more of an irritation to you than it is even to your cat. And possibly having terrible consequences because of that. So we're big into the natural, and the Flex obviously is a great product at this time of year. But there's a lot of products out there that are far better than some of these chemical treatments out there that are very scary.
Yeah.
It's weird when you think about how much chemicals a typical pet parent puts into their dog and cat, whether it's food, flea treatment, or whatever. Or flea collars.
Right.
It's crazy.
Vaccines.
Yes.
Medication, steroids, antibiotics, and normal treatment every time that a dog or cat is ill. They normally treat with an antibiotic or a steroid. And you think about their tiny little bodies and what these chemicals are doing in their bodies, how it has to be processed in their kidneys and their livers, and how, what is the body actually doing with all these chemicals. And while it may be addressing an issue, and we're not anti-medicine by any means, but if there are so many of the common ailments that can be addressed nutritionally that don't have to have a quick fix through an antibiotic or a steroid with the side effects that come along with it. That you can treat naturally with homeopathy or with like natural supplements like ours, or nutraceuticals like ours, or sometimes even just with diet alone, can change many of these issues.
Well, there's an exact parallel, I think, between the society that we live in now, when so many people say, "Oh, I have this problem or that problem." They go to the doctor. They get a pill. They call it a pill for every ill, right? It's a quick fix. And yet, isn't it hilarious to watch these pharmaceutical commercials where they spend literally, 26 of the 30 seconds talking about possible side effects, including, facial, right? But terrible, terrible side effects that sound far worse than the issue they're trying to treat. Same is true in the veterinary community or for pets as well. There's always going to be a quick fix. There can be, right? But if we look at diet, for example, for people, it's, cardiac issues and heart disease and that sort of thing. And that really can be fixed by diet. We don't need all these prescriptions. You have to start looking at what the problem is and not try treating the symptoms. The same is true with our pets. And while it's not going to be 20 minutes later that you're feeling better, you can start making a change. It's going to change their life over time for a much longer time. And that's really the exciting part about when you're dealing with something. Yes, we know what it feels like to want to fix it quickly. We don't want our pets suffering in any way. At the same time, we also need to be looking at the best way that we can do that in a way that's considerate of their bodies and the way that they need to deal with something that's also going to have long-term effects that are consequences.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, we're all about addressing the problem and not the symptoms, not just the symptoms.
What she said. That's what I was trying to say, but I was too busy rambling.
Yeah. So we never have a conversation with a customer and just say, hey, this is what you need. Buy one of our products. That's not what our passion is about. Our passion is about helping everything. Yes, we may have a product that is going to help address the issue, and we will, let you know if we have a product that's going to help your cat. For sure, we have to. But we're also going to, even if it's, say, the cat calm, right? People say, I have a stressed out cat. I don't know what to do. Okay, well, here are some steps. We have a product, but I don't want you to just give this product. I also want you to put your cat on a routine schedule. I want you to, pick out 2 times a day, 3 times a day that you can feed. Are you able to add in a little bit of wet food with that kibble? Could you do it once a day instead of just as a treat every once in a while? These kind of things. We're all about the educational aspect.
When people call us, they don't know if they're in for this, but they're in for 20 questions. We want to know, if you're having an issue with peeing outside the box, how many litter boxes do you have? How many cats do you have? What kind of litter are you using? All of those things, what are you feeding your cat? What has their experience been? Have they had this vaccine? There's so many questions that they're about to get nailed with so that we can better
address
what the issue is.
Not just throw you something that might help the symptoms. Yeah, I just had the conversation this morning. I really need, because I have this conversation all the time, I really need to just get something I can copy and paste because of a questionnaire, because the question always comes to you, or comes to me, my cat's vomiting. My cat is vomiting. Well, there's many different reasons why a cat vomits. So, what do you have for a cat that vomits? Well, I need to know why he's vomiting first, right? Is he hairball? Is it hairball? Is it scarfing and barfing? Have you taken him to the vet? Has he been cleared of, kidney issues or, all kinds of different ailments? There's all kinds of questions that we need to ask before I'm not just going to sell you a product.
Yeah. And as you're talking, Spencer decided to jump on here, so he's, I kid you not.
Oh, hi, Spencer.
I honestly think that at all times when I'm recording, at least a cat or a dog has to be nearby. It is actually quite comical.
Okay.
I
love it.
It is the show that actually is recorded for pets, and technically I think by pets, because they're really the ones who I take all my orders from these guys.
Warning.
Absolutely.
The best boss in the world.
He is actually really good. Well, I always hate this point, and that is the time is unfortunately at that point, and I always feel really sad. But I get to talk to you guys a little longer, throughout the time. But you'll be back, and we'll talk more about these subjects so that they can all hear you. But remember, folks, you can go on Crazy Cat Ladies. It's crazycatladies.com. I have it bookmarked.
Yeah, right. TWO, crazycatladies.com.
That was really good, actually. It was perfect for a commercial right there.
In stereo.
in Dolby 2.1. And of course, you can find them on Facebook, and you can read show descriptions to find out more. Anything you would like to add?
I just want to thank you for doing what you do, Christopher.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us on again. You are always such a joy.
Well,
absolutely.
You know what? It was a great first day, and I definitely hope that they're all like this.
You nailed it. You nailed it.
Nailed it.
Wonderful.
Well, I'm Chris Green. Have a fantastic week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay, gotta go in my bedtime.